bosnia.ca.
Every 4 years, we make family traditions. And if we're lucky, make noise. Make purchases with the Scotiabank Passport Visa Infinite Plus card to earn Scene Plus points faster and take your tradition to new places.
This is your captain speaking. As your hosts, we wanted to welcome you to Canada. Though our players are going to be anything but welcoming. Canada is a peaceful place, so enjoy the quiet and take in the natural beauty. We Canadians are famous for our hospitality, so don't be surprised when we take care of you.
Bienvenue au Canada.
And we hope you regret your stay.
Back in Toronto, just over an hour to kick off. There are two different levels of a World Cup dream. First, making the squad, getting to walk out of that tunnel wearing the Canadian colors. But level two is starting, being part of the 11 who will make history in 1 hour.
What do you think the emotions will be when you're walking out onto the pitch for the first time?
Not really sure, honestly.
Stepping on the field in a World Cup is something you dream about as a kid.
These are the kind of stuff that you kind of dream for, you hope for. Honestly, for me, I think it's going to be life-changing.
Personally, being from Toronto, the first game being in Toronto, yeah, special moment.
To have the honor to represent my home country and my home city, I visualize it, I think about it, what it would feel like to walk out with my family there.
In my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be playing a World Cup game 30 minutes from where I grew up with my family in the stands.
Think right away about my parents, my sister, you know, they're going to be taking every step with me there.
To be able to do that in Toronto in front of friends, family, all of Canada watching, what a moment, something you can't even really describe.
And here are the 11 who will represent Canada today. And the big surprise is top left on your screen. Tani Oluwaseyi is in. Kyle Larin out as striker. Larin, of course, the second all-time leading goal scorer for Canada, but hasn't scored for Canada since October of 24. Tani had 2 assists in that second half against Uzbekistan on June 1st. Beyond that, as expected, Miller and Buchanan on the wings, Kone and Eustachio, the captain, in the middle. The back line of Larea, Cornelius, DeFugero, and Johnson. The hope is that they will all play 90, and Max Crépeau has the gloves for Canada. Here's the coach, Jesse Marsh, with our Matthew Shinetti.
Jesse, 2 massive calls today. One we knew, another one maybe a bit of a surprise. Why is Tani Oluwaseyi coming in for Kyle Larin?
Well, we think that Tani can stretch their back line, first of all, and we think he can press well. And we think that it's a day where we want to really try to make it difficult on Bosnia. So that will, I think, be a factor for us. And we know that also Kyle can come in off the bench and with promise a potential good way to end the game.
Luke DeFugero is 20 years old, but he doesn't lack experience. He played for you in Copa America and the Gold Cup. Why is today a big moment for him?
Yeah, I think it's a big moment for Luke, and you say that because he's young, but we don't treat him as a young player. We treat him as a guy who understands who we are, what we are, and how we want to play. So Luke will be ready. I'm excited for him, and you know, I think the whole team right now is really clear on what we are, who we are, what the match plan is, what Bosnia is, and now we got to go out and play.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
If you are just joining us 1 hour before kickoff, James Duffy alongside 2 former Canadian captains, Atiba Hutchinson, Julian de Guzman, and the former Irish national, Kevin Kilbane. Are you surprised that he chose Tani over Kyle for this first World Cup game in Canada?
No, I'm not surprised. I think this is the right decision. It's a hard one for Kyle for sure. You know, having such a good run of games at Southampton, getting the goals he's scoring. However, when it translates to national team football as of recent, it has not been the case. What Tani brings to the table, though, he's going to bring intensity. He's going to bring the runs into the box. He's going to cause all types of problems for a slow back line that Bosnia has. And you need to have the right start on the right foot, because what this allows us to happen now, Kev, you know, when you open up the game after the 50th, 60th minute, then you could bring in a Kyle Larin, which, by the way, an angry Kyle is a very good Kyle.
Yeah, I think that's fair what you've just analysed there, Julian. I think it's harsh on Kyle Larin. It looked to me that he'd gone back to Kyle Larin after such a long time of maybe not so much indecision, but more frequently starting with Tani up to a year ago, wasn't it? Or maybe 6 months ago. I'm surprised at the decision, given the fact that Kyle Larin has been starting the friendlies recently as well. He's been in good form to the end of the season. The lack of minutes that Tani Oluwaseyi has had this season, particularly in the second half of the season, that's another surprise for me. But I understand in the reasons what you're giving there, Julian. Tani Oluwaseyi is way more mobile. He'll continuously run off the shoulders of Bosnia's backline, who are quite slow, James. That's the big thing, I think, here, that the reason why Tani Oluwaseyi is in is to provide space for Jonathan David, perhaps Atiba, to move into.
Yeah, he'll be making lots of runs in behind and putting the high pressure, similar to what we've seen with Canada when they're at their very best. So I think that's what is kind of in Jesse's mind. I'm a bit surprised as well. You know, I seen Kyle doing very well for Southampton, you know, with helping the team to get to where they got to right at the end of the season. And then to have those 2 games, of course, he didn't score in those games, but yeah, it's the coach's decision in the end. But as you said, Jules, Kyle will be so hungry because this is the moment when he loves to prove people wrong and go out there and get his goal that he's looking for.
Since Tani joined the national team, he's had a lot of chances. He creates chances. He had those 2 assists in the friendly against Uzbekistan. But does he have the quality to finish? That's been the knock in a Canadian jersey.
Well, it is a criticism of him. It's a valid criticism, James. He hasn't scored enough goals when he's had the chances. And so many times over the last couple of years, Julian, when we've been watching him, he's getting himself in great positions off the shoulder defenders, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and he's not had the composure to finish off the moves and the great play that Canada have had. So it is a worry for me getting in those key positions, yes.
Yeah, and I think hopefully this brings out a better version of Jonathan David to give him that more space in the final third. Tani's going to create problems and chaos. Hopefully those second balls that are dropping onto Jonathan David's foot allows him to get into critical positions to be a clinical finisher.
We've said numerous times that even though Alphonso Davies might be Canada's best player, Moise Bombito might be Canada's most important player because of his speed, and he sort of allows Canada to play they want to play and press. With Bombito not starting, does Luc de Fougerolles become perhaps Canada's most important player today?
Well, it was interesting listening to Jesse Marsh saying there he treats him as an experienced player because he's earned that right with the performances that he's put in. I've said it constantly. Luc de Fougerolles defies logic with what he's doing. The lack of game time he had prior to playing for Canada, it's very unusual for a player to have one game for your club team and then get called up for the national team and then play. So he's had a season now in Belgium at Denver. Yes, they got relegated, but the important thing for Luc de Fougerolles, he's had a season now. And he comes into this World Cup, I think, showing consistently in a Canadian jersey how well he can actually play. To me, as I said, he defies logic, and I think today it'll be a game for him to show that composure and show what he's made of.
This is when you get a chance to see new talent. You throw them into the fire, and this is a great moment for us to witness hopefully a new talent coming through the pipeline. And Luke represents that, and he's shown it already for the men's national team.
Yeah.
Probably hasn't had enough minutes at a very high level in European football, but listen. There's times where you have players that perform for their men's national team versus their club level. I think Luke's going to do a great job.
I just think, adding to it, sorry, Julian, I think within that, there's a lot riding on Luc de Fougerolles and
a lot to ask for a 20-year-old.
Controlling the back 4. I think that's what he's got to do. I think the experience of Alistair Johnson and maybe Rich Leray at fullbacks, they might be the key one. But de Fougerolles alongside Derek Cornelius, who's probably been a player, James, who needs a little bit of guidance himself.
Bosnia keepers have taken to the pitch for warm-up here as they get set to take on Canada. And again, as you can see from our shots, it's mostly a red crowd here. There's two large Bosnia sections in one side of the stadium, but besides that, mostly Canadians here for the historic first ever World Cup game for Canada. So what do we expect from Kone? If you've been following along, Ismail Kone had a fever a couple of days ago, but it was nothing major. They isolated him for one day. He was back at training yesterday. Does he have an opportunity to control this game?
Yes, he does. I think he's showed great maturity in the last year. The move to Sassuolo helped him, and it came at the right time. He's had a great season alongside Nemanja Matic, the experienced midfield player. I think he's helped his game. 6 goals across the course of the year, but the most important thing I think for Ismail Koné was the amount of starts he was getting. He'd had inconsistent seasons of not starting a lot of games, playing 90 minutes. He's had that now. I think his overall game has developed immensely.
Oh, it's a run of games. It's so important for you, as you said, Kev. Playing week in, week out, having that trust in the coach, and just getting the feeling of knowing what it takes to be at that level. He knows that he can put on the red jersey and be at his very best. He knows that this is the occasion, and he rises to these occasions. We've seen him in the Copa. We've seen him against Holland and France. He's going to love every moment of this, and I think he's going to dictate the tempo of this game.
What a moment there as Max Crépeau and Milan Borjan, who's been part of our broadcast, the starting keeper for Canada at the last World Cup, embrace. And the passion for Milan as Max Crépeau, who didn't know until a week ago that he would be the starting keeper for Canada. What an ovation for Max, who leads Dane Sinclair and Owen Goodman, the third keeper, onto the pitch. You could have gone either way with the decision, but he deserves it the way he played in Copa.
That's special. What a moment for him leading the team out in the warm-ups there. Very, very special moment for Max. And as I said, I've said it consistently, he deserves this moment. I think his form that he's shown in the Canadian jersey, Julian, warrants this. And I'm delighted for him. So happy for him.
Proud of him. Proud of the guy. I mean, I had him at the Ottawa Fury, back in 2018, and he's shown patience. And he knows that he wanted to be the number 1 for a very long time. He was always number 2 behind Milan for a very long time as well. So he learned from the best.
Yeah.
Look at the smiles inside the tunnel as Canada takes to the pitch for warm-up.
Fans, please welcome to the pitch, Canada!
Media suggesting reports out of Bosnia that they were taking over the stadium for the game, and Jesse Marsh interrupted and said, no, it will be a sea of red. And it mostly is, and you saw that thunderous ovation for the Canadians.